what is good content marketing? Good content is any piece of content, whether it is audio, video, or text, that adds value to your target audience. And that's a very key component there, adds value. Anyone can create content. Anyone can create anything, really, but is it going to add value? And here's a very interesting point I really want you to think about, especially when it relates to your own current content, past content, or future content that you have planned. I want you to ask this question. Does this content add value that no one else in the world adds? It's a very scary question, because the truth of our current digital age is you can literally learn anything online for free instantly. The truth is, this information is not new. Everything that I'm teaching you, I have learned from free resources. Granted, some of those may have been mentors. Some of those may have been courses. Some of those may have been YouTube videos or blog articles or podcasts, but my experience is unique though. In fact, my experience is the only thing that I can bring to the table that has any value that no one else can share. So this is why I really preach the idea of authenticity and being unique, not only in your music and your sounds and all of those creative elements, but in your brand. If you are not you, then you're trying to be someone else. And no one responds to that. No one wants to work with a fake. People want you for you. And in fact, at a recent conference where Austin Wintory, many of you may know him, he's a fantastic composer, most known for Journey, the Banner Saga, recently worked on an Assassin's Creed game, and he gave a really amazing talk about why do people hire me? His answer was not because of the music, it was not the product. That's not why people hire you. They hire you because of the experience of working with you, because the risk that you take away, the quality of your communication, the speed of your delivery. All of these things are the experiential component, the customer service component. It's not so much that you're solving their problem, although you are. That's like the base line of any product or service. You are solving the problem, but you're doing it in a way that delights the customer. So your content really should start that process. It should go ahead and give them an experience that they're not going to get elsewhere. And ultimately, that has to be rooted in who you are and in your identity, in your unique self, in your true self. And so how do we do that? Well, tell your experiences, give your stories, give your successes, your failures, and package them in a way that adds value to others. Specifically though, it needs to be your target audience, or else you are wasting your time. So if I write for, let's pick on podcasts, they don't get enough love out there. If you are writing, like in my case, I write for fantasy podcasts, for audio dramas. That's one of my targets. They don't want information about how to score a film. That's useless information. They don't want my mixing experience on video games. They don't want to know how I create loops for video games. It's just unrelated. And they're not going to search for those things online. They're not going to watch the things they don't want to watch because it doesn't add any value to them. And so by creating content that's not related to the people you're supposed to be creating content for, it's random. It's like in our first video talking about choosing your target audience. If you're playing a sport and the goal is very clearly right there, you know what your goal is. You're going to go after it. But if you just kind of let your creativity decide what you're going to create today, I feel like talking about video game loops, it just doesn't solve any problems. And I've done this especially the early days of my YouTube channel. I just created whatever I felt like creating. And it was very creatively fulfilling, but there was no goal in mind and there was no strategy to it. But now all of my content is on a very clean and clear strategy to get my target audience from point A to point B in a very straight line. It's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, and it's going to get you the best results because you're actually helping people. So that's the first thing we have to get out of the way. Next, we have to figure out, how do we plan this stuff? Well, from a very strategic point of view, when you're creating content, it has to be quality, aka add value, and it has to be consistent. Those are really the only two have-tos, the only requirements. So quality content, if it's not consistent, your subscriber base is going to fall off. They're going to quit. Imagine a magazine that came once a year instead of once a month or once a week. You totally unsubscribe because it doesn't add value frequently enough. And each platform online kind of has a different quota for what is appropriate and what gets results. So to list some of them off, YouTube, which I highly recommend everyone should be on YouTube because they're attached to Google. It is the #1 search engine in the world. You need to be on YouTube in some capacity, whether it's informational videos or it's experience sharing videos or your music videos, something that adds value, of course, to your client. It's going to be found through Google if it's on YouTube. It's going to be the first result, which is exactly what everyone needs for that exposure to start the sales funnel process. You need to post a video at least once per week. That is the minimum. That is very doable. So a pretty standard content schedule would be you film one day of the week, you edit for maybe 2 or 3 days, and you post once a week, and then maybe spend another day or two preparing for the next one. So it's a 7-day cycle. You can choose however you'd like. Maybe you're really fast and it only takes you 1 day to do everything, or it takes 2 days, however you want to do it, but it needs to be consistent. The general feeling is that you should always bulk produce for any content. So instead of just creating one video and then waiting for the next week to get one video, it doesn't make a lot of sense with your time and energy. So just like this course, I have literally batch bulk recorded the entire thing in one sitting because I prepared in advance, I delivered the content, and then the next step is to edit and to produce, to package. And what that does is it segments the process up so that you can be fully creative, doing exactly what you need to do in the moment. And then the next step is like the editing phase and then the production phase. So it allows you to get a lot more done in a shorter amount of time, and it allows you to schedule ahead and get all of your content going. So I generally like to say that you should prepare 1 month in advance for any content that you're creating. So YouTube, you gotta have a video rolling out every week, but you probably need to create 8 videos on 1 day or 1 week and then schedule them out for 2 months. But that way, from the user's perspective, they're getting one every week. And it was well thought out, it was well planned, and it solves problems, and it works on your entire content marketing strategy. Something else, something different might be Instagram. That's kind of the other big place to be right now in 2019. Instagram, if you're not on Instagram, you're missing out on so much traffic. Gary Vaynerchuk, who is one of the leading experts on social media on how to grab attention. That's kind of his phrase. He's an attention grabber. He learns where people are and he disrupts it. And right now, 2019, he suggests that you should post 4 times a day on Instagram. That could be through IGTV or posts or stories, but you need to be so active in the micro content, which are like tiny little pieces of content, like 5 seconds or less, or like a 10-second story, or a little clip from your YouTube video on there for IGTV. What you're doing is you are just being active and constantly present. And in the same way, you can prepare these. You can easily create 30 videos or 30 posts on Instagram in the same amount of time it takes to create one YouTube video. You might be able to create 100, but if you think about it, it's about 120 pieces of content per month for Instagram versus 4 for YouTube. Aside from that, podcasting, pretty similar to YouTube. You really want to have something at least once a week, maybe twice a week. People are expecting that. So something that I was taught from some podcasters and YouTubers is one of the easiest ways to do this is start with the video. Anytime you have a video, it's the most complete form of content because it's audio, visual, and text content. So create a YouTube video and then convert it into a podcast episode, which is just audio. Put an intro and an outro on it to give context because people can't see you. And then also extract that into a blog post, which is just text. So you can literally transcribe your video, or you can take the notes that you use to prepare for the video, like your bullet points or whatever, and you can convert it into a blog post. And now you have 3 valuable pieces of content for 3 different types of audiences, because not everyone's going to watch a video. Not everyone's going to listen to a podcast. Not everyone's going to read a blog post. So you have now diversified 1 piece of content into 3. You've literally multiplied it. And by doing this, you now have a very strong content marketing strategy because you're hitting 3 major points from people as they come in, and then they get into your sales funnel, they come down, and then you start landing sales. So let's move on to the action steps for step 4 of content marketing. Step 1, I want you to research which content platforms will be the most valuable for your target audience. It might be YouTube, it might be blog posts, it might be Instagram. Find out where your target audience can receive the most value for the least amount of energy and time from you. Because if you discover that your audience doesn't give a rip about videos, then don't waste your time on it. Spend all your time on podcasts or spend all your time on blog posts. But maybe you find out that all 3 are valuable. Then start with video and convert likewise. Action step 2, I want you to create a plan for 1 month. Think ahead, plan ahead for all of the content that you want to create as part of your content marketing strategy. That way, when you post in the Facebook group with these action steps, we can all kind of bounce back and forth, and we can help shape whether or not your content strategy is the most effective before you just go and do it. I would much rather you have a plan in place that is well thought out, and then you can go and act on it. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with.